Have you ever felt like your kindness is being taken for granted? The more you give, the less appreciated you seem. What if I told you that there's a hidden cost to always saying yes, to constantly putting others' needs before your own? Imagine a world where your kindness doesn't drain you, but empowers you. A world where you can remain generous, yet strong. Can you picture walking into any room and commanding respect, simply because you understand the subtle art of setting boundaries? That's the secret we're going to unlock in this audiobook. It's time to stop apologizing for existing and start standing firm in your own power. Are you ready to reshape your relationships, your career, and your life? Buckle up, because the journey to a more powerful, clear, and respected version of yourself starts now. Chapter 1. The hidden cost of being too nice. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you agreed to do something, even though deep down you didn't want to? You smiled, nodded, and said, "Sure, no problem," only to walk away feeling small, drained, and overlooked. This is the hidden cost of being too nice. It's not about grand betrayals or dramatic events. No, the real toll of overgiving is quiet and subtle. It's the feeling of your boundaries being eroded, one small concession at a time. You might think you're being a good person, right? But here's the reality. Kindness without boundaries does not equal respect. It creates convenience. People stop valuing you when they know you'll always be available. They start expecting your time, your energy, and your generosity as a given. You tell yourself, "It's fine, I'm just being a good person." But deep inside, there's a growing sense of resentment, a quiet feeling that something isn't quite right. Each time you override your own needs for others, you send a message, not just to them, but to yourself. You teach your own mind that your time doesn't matter, that your comfort is optional, and that your needs can be ignored. This, over time, rewires your nervous system. You begin to expect to be overlooked, to be interrupted, to be taken for granted. You think less of your own worth, believing that pleasing others is your purpose. But in doing so, you sacrifice your own stability, your own strength. Let's talk about Daniel. He was a perfect employee. Reliable, competent, always ready to go the extra mile. He stayed late, handled others' tasks, and never complained. At first, his boss and colleagues praised him, but soon, praise turned into expectation. His coworkers would drop work onto his desk with a casual, "You're good at this, right?" His manager assumed Daniel would always be the one to handle the last-minute tasks. But no one noticed when Daniel stopped being thanked. No one acknowledged when he felt invisible, exhausted, and resentful. Daniel had spent years trying to be the reliable, accommodating one. But in the end, it wasn't his competence that mattered. It was his willingness to sacrifice his boundaries. And when he finally realized it, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet but powerful. Someone else, someone who said no more often, someone who didn't overextend, got the promotion. That was the moment Daniel saw it. He was respected for his dependability, but not valued for his limits. Here's the key truth. People don't respect you for how much you give. They respect you for how clearly you stand your ground. When you say yes to everything, your yes loses power. Your generosity becomes an automatic response rather than a deliberate choice. And when you stop being intentional with your kindness, people stop valuing it. They stop seeing the weight of your yes because it's always available. Think about this. Over time, as you continue to be the person who always says yes, you start to lose your own sense of self. Your voice, once clear and strong, becomes small, uncertain. You begin to question your instincts, your decisions, your worth. This inner fragmentation creates anxiety. You replay conversations in your mind, thinking of what you should have said. You imagine stronger versions of yourself, but in the moment you freeze. Why? Because pleasing others feels safer than asserting yourself. But here's the truth. Kindness without boundaries is not peace. It's self-abandonment. You shrink your personality, your preferences, your beliefs, just to avoid conflict. You sacrifice clarity for comfort. And this, my friend, is where the real danger lies. What if the answer to this problem isn't just about being kinder, but about being clearer? In the next chapter, we'll dive into why overgivers often don't get the respect they deserve, and how setting boundaries can completely shift your relationships. Stay with me. It's about to get even more powerful. If you're already feeling the weight of this message, make sure you're subscribed to Blue Wave Audiobook for more transformative content like this. Don't miss the next chapter. It's time to stop overgiving and start owning your power. Chapter 2. Why people don't respect overgivers. If you've ever found yourself giving more than you've received, it may seem like a natural path to gaining respect. After all, isn't generosity supposed to make people appreciate you? But here's the painful truth. When you overgive, you're not building respect. You're building a dangerous pattern. You may not see it at first, but the more you overextend yourself, the less people begin to appreciate the value of what you're offering. Let's dig into this. Imagine a scenario at work, at home, or even in a friendship. The person who always says yes, who is constantly available, ends up being the person everyone assumes will handle things. And over time, something shifts. What was once seen as a generous act becomes the norm. People stop respecting you for your kindness and start expecting it. You might be thinking, but I'm just trying to help. And yes, you are. But there's a critical difference between helping because you choose to and helping because you feel obligated. When you're always the one to step in, to say yes, to go the extra mile, something insidious happens. People stop seeing your actions as extraordinary, and instead, they begin to take them for granted. Your time, your effort, your availability becomes the baseline. And here's where it gets tricky. The more you give without setting clear boundaries, the less weight your contributions carry. Let me tell you about Maya. Maya was the emotional anchor in her group of friends. If someone had a problem, she'd drop everything to listen. If someone needed advice, she was the first one they'd turn to. She rearranged her schedule for birthdays, last-minute events, and crises, always there, always giving. But over time, something shifted. Her friends stopped expressing gratitude. Her calls weren't urgent anymore. They became expectations. Maya became the reliable one, the one they knew would always show up. But that shift wasn't as fulfilling as she expected. It wasn't just her actions that changed, it was how people viewed her. They stopped seeing her as an individual with preferences and needs. They saw her as a role, dependable, flexible, always available. Here's the kicker. Maya wasn't getting the respect she thought she was. The respect she received wasn't for her boundaries, it was for her compliance. The more she said yes, the more people took her for granted. They didn't respect her needs. They respected her willingness to be there when they needed her, regardless of her own limits. This isn't a rare case. It happens all the time. In work environments, social circles, and even in families. Overgiving creates a cycle that people naturally lean into. At first, they may appreciate the help, the support, the generosity. But over time, your willingness to always give begins to feel like an entitlement. People expect your time, your energy, your effort, without ever considering the toll it takes on you. And here's where it becomes a problem. This creates a power imbalance. You may be giving and giving, but you're never getting anything back. The more you give, the less people value it because they stop seeing it as a special offering and start viewing it as your default setting. Why does this happen? Because when you overgive without boundaries, people begin to take advantage of your generosity, often unconsciously. If you answer every call immediately, they stop valuing your promptness. If you always adjust your schedule to accommodate others, they stop asking if it works for you. If you never push back, they stop checking in with you before making decisions. It's not malice, it's conditioning. Over time, they've learned that you'll always say yes, that you'll always make sacrifices. And because of that, they stop respecting you. It's not a personal attack. It's simply human behavior responding to patterns. And in this case, it's a pattern that ultimately undermines your value. But here's the good news. You can break this cycle. You don't have to stop being kind. You don't have to stop helping. But you do need to stop overextending yourself. You need to create boundaries. Boundaries let people know that your time, your energy, and your effort are precious. They allow you to be kind on your terms, not because you feel obligated, but because you choose to. And when you start setting boundaries, you teach others to respect you. Think of boundaries as the edges of a map. Without them, people wander aimlessly, not knowing where the limits are. With clear boundaries, people understand your map. They see where your energy goes, and they understand that they can't just take without giving. This doesn't mean you stop helping, but it means you stop letting people treat you as if you're infinite, as if you have unlimited time and energy to give. When you set boundaries, you signal strength, clarity, and respect for yourself. And when you respect yourself, others begin to respect you in return. What if the key to greater respect wasn't just about giving less, but about how you speak and hold yourself in every interaction? In the next chapter, we'll dive into a powerful shift you can make to stop apologizing for simply existing and start owning your presence. You won't want to miss it. If this chapter resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to Blue Wave Audiobook for more insights on how to reclaim your power, respect, and energy. You deserve to be treated with the value you bring. Keep listening and let's continue this journey of transformation. Chapter 3. Stop apologizing for existing. We've all done it. You ask a simple question, and before the words even leave your mouth, you add a sorry. Or maybe you express an opinion, but you follow it up with, "I'm sorry, I just wanted to say." These small, seemingly innocent words can have a massive impact on how others perceive you. But here's the shocking reality. Apologizing for existing, apologizing for expressing yourself, or apologizing when you haven't done anything wrong is quietly shrinking your presence and eroding your authority. It's time to stop. Let's break it down. Have you ever noticed that the moment you apologize before you've even said anything, you're already undermining your own authority? You might think you're being polite, but what you're actually signaling is uncertainty. You're saying, "I don't belong here, my words don't matter," or even, "I don't deserve to take up this space." It's a subtle form of self-doubt that gets reinforced over and over. It's like you're training others to see you as less than you are. Think about this. If every time you speak, you start with an apology, What are you teaching the people around you? That your voice is optional, that your ideas don't have weight, and that you're always seeking permission to exist in the conversation. This is not just a bad habit, it's a sign of internalized insecurity. Here's an example that happens every day in meetings, classrooms, or even social interactions. Two people walk into a room and one immediately says, "Sorry, I'm late," while the other simply says, "Thank you for waiting." Notice the difference. Both acknowledge the situation, but only one maintains authority. The person who says, "Thank you for waiting," automatically positions themselves as someone whose presence is valuable, whose time is worth respecting. So why do we apologize for things that aren't even mistakes? Why do we apologize for existing, for asking questions, for simply taking up space? Well, it's conditioning. From a young age, many of us were taught that to be liked, to be accepted, we need to shrink ourselves to avoid conflict, to soften our presence. We learned that apologizing kept us safe. It kept us from standing out, from making waves. It made us feel liked but not respected. But here's where things change. Humility is a powerful trait. It's being grounded, being confident in who you are. Humility doesn't require apology. It requires self-respect. True humility isn't shrinking, it's standing tall with certainty. And when you do that, your words begin to carry weight. Now, let's talk about the psychology behind over-apologizing. There's a trap here that many people fall into without even realizing it. When you apologize constantly, you begin to internalize guilt, even when you've done nothing wrong. You start taking responsibility for others' emotions, reactions, or discomfort. Someone disagrees with you, you apologize. Someone seems upset, you apologize. You soften your voice, lower your tone, and shrink in the face of tension. You think that by apologizing, you're keeping the peace, but in reality, you're diminishing your presence. Here's an exercise. Start tracking how often you say sorry in a day. Whether you say it aloud or just think it, keep track. You'll likely be shocked at how many times it slips out, often for things that don't warrant an apology. Apologizing for asking a question, apologizing for voicing a preference, apologizing for simply existing. Now, let's get practical. The goal here is not to eliminate your politeness or kindness, but to recalibrate how you communicate. Start by replacing unnecessary apologies with neutral, confident language. Instead of saying, "Sorry, can I ask a question?" try, "I have a question." Instead of "Sorry if this is a stupid idea," try, "Here's an idea." Simple, direct, and clear. Notice how much stronger your presence feels when you stop apologizing for speaking your truth. Let's take this a step further. Picture this scenario. You're in a meeting and you need to express an opinion or share an idea. If you begin with, "Sorry, I just wanted to say," instead try starting with, "I think," or "My suggestion is." Notice how your words hold more weight without the apology tacked on. By removing the apology, you're removing the self-doubt and showing that you believe your voice matters. Here's another key shift. You are not responsible for how others react to your presence, your words, or your boundaries. When you apologize for speaking up, you're essentially saying that your right to be heard is conditional. You're letting others dictate your value based on how they feel. But the truth is, you can speak your mind, express your needs, and share your thoughts without needing approval. Think about how much more solid you would feel if you stopped apologizing for everything. What would it be like to say, "No, that doesn't work for me," and not feel your heart race? What would it feel like to stop second-guessing yourself and simply stand firm in your decisions? This is the power of owning your space. To take it one step further, let's talk about body language. When you apologize, notice how your posture shifts. Maybe you slouch a little, drop your shoulders, or avoid eye contact. These small physical changes communicate weakness and uncertainty. But when you stop apologizing and stand firm, your body follows suit. You start standing taller, making eye contact, and projecting confidence. Your presence becomes more grounded, more powerful, and more respected. Here's the bottom line: stop apologizing for existing. Start taking up space. Your voice, your thoughts, and your presence are valuable. When you stop apologizing for them, you begin to command respect, not because you demand it, but because you show it through your actions. What if the real secret to gaining respect wasn't just in the way you speak or hold yourself, but in how you say no? In the next chapter, we'll dive into why saying no is one of the most powerful tools you can use to reclaim your power and authority. You won't want to miss this. It's time to learn how to set boundaries without guilt. If this chapter spoke to you, make sure to subscribe to Blue Wave Audiobook and stay tuned for more tips on how to elevate your presence and build unshakable respect. You're not just learning to be more assertive, you're learning to be more confident in who you truly are. Let's keep this journey going. Chapter 4. Learn to say no without explaining. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you said no to something, only to feel the overwhelming urge to explain yourself? Maybe you've been asked to stay late at work, attend an event you don't want to go to, or take on a project you simply don't have the time for. What happens next? Often, instead of just saying no, you start to justify it. I'm really busy. I have too much going on. I wish I could, but maybe next time. Before you know it, your no becomes a diluted version of itself, and the boundary you tried to set feels weak, uncertain, and negotiable. Here's the hard truth: the more you explain your no, the less solid it sounds. When you give reasons, you're opening the door to negotiation. You're providing the other person with material to argue with. And this creates an opportunity for them to push back. Oh, but it'll only take 5 minutes. Everyone has a busy schedule. It's not a big deal. And suddenly, instead of firmly standing your ground, you're back in a position where you feel like you need to justify your decision. This is where boundaries begin to crumble. Let's take a look at 2 versions of the same no. Version 1: I can't help this weekend because I'm overwhelmed. I have so much on my plate right now. Version 2: I'm not available this weekend. Both statements convey the same outcome, but notice the difference. One invites negotiation, while the other is a clear, firm statement. The second version doesn't give room for debate or bargaining. It's final. And that's exactly what you need when you're setting boundaries. But why is it so hard to simply say no without explaining ourselves? The answer lies in fear. Fear of seeming rude, fear of disappointing someone, fear of being perceived as difficult. We've been conditioned to believe that saying no is somehow disrespectful or inconsiderate. After all, when we say yes, we're being helpful, generous, and cooperative, right? But here's the flip side. Constantly saying yes, especially when it's not aligned with your own needs, creates exhaustion, resentment, and a lack of respect for your time and energy. Here's a powerful realization. When you start saying no without explanations, something shifts. You take back control of your energy, your time, and your choices. You stop feeling like you need to prove yourself or justify your decisions. You start to operate from a place of alignment, not approval. This shift is profound because when you're aligned with your own needs, you're no longer afraid of disappointing others. You start saying no because it serves you, not because you're afraid of conflict or feeling guilty. Let's think about Aaron for a moment. Aaron was the go-to guy in his department. Whenever someone needed help, whenever a project fell behind, Aaron was the one to pick up the slack. He didn't want to disappoint anyone, but over time, Aaron became overwhelmed. His plate was full, and yet he couldn't stop saying yes. He didn't know how to set limits without feeling like he was letting people down. One day, his manager asked him to take on yet another urgent assignment. Normally, Aaron would have said yes without hesitation, but this time something clicked. Instead of immediately agreeing, he paused. He felt the usual pressure, the instinct to comply to prove his worth. But this time he stood his ground. Calmly, he said, "I can't take that on right now." There was a long moment of silence. His manager stared at him, but Aaron didn't rush to fill the silence. He didn't explain. He didn't apologize. He just let the no sit there. His manager eventually nodded and reassigned the task without a fuss. And that was it. No drama, no confrontation, no guilt. Aaron's breakthrough wasn't just about saying no. It was about realizing that his worth wasn't tied to his ability to constantly say yes. His manager respected him not because he was always available, but because he had the strength to set clear boundaries. When Aaron stopped explaining his no, he stopped giving away his power. This is what happens when you stop apologizing for your no. You stop shrinking. You stop justifying your decisions. You become anchored in your boundaries, and people respect you more because they see you as someone who values their own time, energy, and commitments. Here's another important point. When you do say no, it's not about being harsh or cold. It's about being grounded in your decision. You don't need to shout your no from the rooftops, but you do need to stand firm in it. A strong no is calm and composed. It's not rushed, and it doesn't come with added explanations or qualifications. You don't need to offer alternatives or soften the blow with extra information. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your energy and time. Now, let's talk about the common trap many people fall into when they say no. Instead of simply stating their boundary, they offer alternatives to soften the refusal. I can't do it tonight, but maybe tomorrow. I can't help, but maybe I can help later. These responses are born out of anxiety. The anxiety of disappointing someone, the fear of being seen as unhelpful. But when you offer alternatives out of guilt, you're still not standing in your full power. The key is to learn how to say no with authority and without over-explaining. A clear, concise no is often the most powerful response you can give. Here's a simple exercise you can try to improve your ability to say no confidently. Practice saying no in front of a mirror. Start with small situations. Declining an invitation, turning down a request at work, or saying no to a favor. Say it without rushing to explain yourself. Hold eye contact with your reflection. Notice how it feels when you say no without guilt or hesitation. Notice how your body reacts. When you say no firmly, do you feel your body relaxing? Does your posture straighten? Do you feel a sense of empowerment? Keep practicing until you can say no comfortably and confidently in real-life situations. Remember, saying no doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, it's an act of self-respect. You're not rejecting others, you're protecting your own energy, and by doing so, you allow space for the things that truly matter to you. When you make saying no a natural, firm part of your life, you'll find that people will begin to respect you more, not less. What if the key to mastering boundaries wasn't just about saying no, but about setting them early? In the next chapter, we'll explore why waiting too long to set boundaries can backfire, and how defining your limits early on can help you avoid unnecessary conflict and build stronger relationships. If this chapter resonated with you, subscribe to Blue Wave Audiobook and continue your journey to more empowered, clear, and confident boundaries. You're learning to protect your time, energy, and self-respect. Don't miss the next chapter as we continue this transformational journey together. Chapter 5. Set boundaries early. There's a common mistake that many people make when it comes to setting boundaries. They wait. They wait until they're overwhelmed, exhausted, or irritated. They wait until the frustration has built up so much that it finally bursts out in an emotional outburst, often leaving everyone, including themselves, feeling uncomfortable. But here's the thing. Boundaries that are set too late don't feel like healthy limits. They feel like attacks. They feel like a sudden shift in behavior that no one saw coming. And that's because, in many cases, they weren't communicated early enough to set proper expectations. When you wait to set boundaries, you give the impression that anything goes, that your needs and limits can be adjusted based on the situation. But this isn't how respect is built. Respect is built when others know what to expect from you, when they understand that your time, your energy, and your well-being are non-negotiable. And that's why setting boundaries early is so important. When you define your limits up front, you save yourself from having to deal with unnecessary tension and frustration down the road. Imagine this. You're starting a new job, or entering a new relationship, or meeting new friends. In the early days, everything is easy. You're flexible, agreeable, and accommodating because you want to make a good impression. You say yes to everything. You take on tasks you don't need to, adjust your schedule without hesitation, and tolerate small inconveniences in the name of keeping the peace. You want to be seen as cooperative, easygoing, supportive, so you overextend yourself. But as time goes on, you start to feel the strain. You're getting overwhelmed. You're exhausted. And when you finally try to pull back, when you finally set a boundary, it feels like a big, dramatic shift. You might say something like, "I can't help with that right now," or "I need to prioritize my own time today." Suddenly, you're faced with confusion, surprise, maybe even resistance. Your colleagues, friends, or family might say, "What changed? You never used to mind." But the truth is, nothing has changed except that you finally reached your limit. This is the problem with setting boundaries too late. People are shocked when you start enforcing them. And when boundaries come out of frustration or exhaustion, they don't feel like healthy limits. They feel like an emotional explosion. They create confusion and make the people around you feel like they've done something wrong, even though you've been silently tolerating their behavior for months. Setting boundaries early prevents all of this. It allows you to define what works for you from the very beginning, without waiting for resentment to build. Think about any strong leader, manager, or person you know. One of the first things they do when entering a new situation is define the expectations. They say things like, "This is how I work. This is what I need. and this is when I'm available. And guess what? They don't lose respect for it. In fact, they gain respect because they show that they value their own time and energy. They give others a clear sense of what to expect, and that clarity builds trust and respect. Now you might be thinking, but I don't want to seem rigid or unapproachable. That's understandable. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you become harsh or cold. It simply means that you're clear about your needs and respectful of your time. It means you're giving others the chance to understand where you stand from the beginning. And when people know what to expect, they'll respect your limits much more than if you wait until you're exhausted and resentful to finally draw the line. Let's take a closer look at how this works in real-life scenarios. Imagine you're starting a new relationship, whether it's a romantic partnership, a friendship, or a professional connection. Early on, you might think that you need to be constantly available, to always say yes, in order to be liked or accepted. But here's the truth. That's how you set yourself up for burnout. That's how you end up feeling taken for granted. The trick is to set your boundaries early. For example, if you're entering a romantic relationship, communicate early on about how you value your alone time or how you handle disagreements. If you're starting a new job, make it clear when you're available and when you need time for yourself. These early conversations, while sometimes uncomfortable, prevent the building of resentment and frustration. They allow both parties to understand what the other person needs and how to best respect each other's time and energy. In the workplace, the same principle applies. When you begin a new job, clarify your boundaries from the start. Say, I don't check emails after 7 p.m. or I'm not available on weekends unless it's an emergency. These may seem like small things, but they set the tone for how you want to be treated. And when you define those boundaries up front, there's no room for confusion. There's no, I didn't know you felt that way. There's no room for people to push your limits because you've already set the expectation. Another reason to set boundaries early is that it helps you avoid unnecessary emotional stress. When your boundaries are clear, you don't have to second-guess every decision you make or feel guilty for saying no. You've already defined your terms, and by doing so, you free yourself from the anxiety that comes from feeling like you're always accommodating everyone else's needs at the expense of your own. But what if you've already been in a situation where you've let your boundaries slide and are now trying to enforce them? Is it too late? Absolutely not. While it may create a bit of temporary tension, setting boundaries at any point is better than never setting them at all. The key here is to be consistent. If you've been letting things slide, it might take a little while for people to adjust. But when you stay firm, when you consistently reinforce your boundaries, people will learn to respect them. The bottom line is this: setting boundaries early is a form of self-respect. It's a way of protecting your energy, your time, and your mental health before things get out of control. It's not about being rigid or unapproachable. It's about giving others the opportunity to respect you for who you are and what you need. Now that we've discussed how to set boundaries early, we'll dive into one of the hardest and most transformative parts of this process: learning to detach from approval. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the need for constant approval can hold you back from standing firm in your decisions, and how you can begin to own your worth without relying on external validation. Trust me, this one will change how you show up in the world. If you found value in this chapter, Don't forget to subscribe to Blue Wave Audiobook for more tips and strategies on how to build a life that's aligned with your values. Setting boundaries early is a game changer, and you're just getting started on this journey of self-respect. Keep listening, and let's continue building that confidence together. Chapter 6. Detach from approval. What if I told you that the need for approval is one of the most limiting forces in your life? That by constantly seeking validation, you're not only draining your energy, but also disconnecting from your own power. It sounds dramatic, but this silent addiction to approval is something most of us don't even realize we're trapped in. We think we're just being nice or thoughtful, when in reality we're compromising our own strength. We're letting our sense of self-worth hinge on the opinions of others. And when you tie your value to how others see you, you lose touch with your authenticity. The first step in this journey is awareness. Ask yourself, how often do you find yourself adjusting your behavior just to gain approval? Do you say yes when you mean no, just to avoid disappointment? Do you soften your opinions so you don't rock the boat? Do you suppress your true feelings because you're afraid of disapproval? If you're like most people, the answer is yes. We've all done it. We've all adjusted ourselves to fit into someone else's idea of what we should be. Whether it's a friend, a colleague, a partner, or a stranger, we tailor our behavior to make sure we're liked, accepted, or even just not disliked. But this is where the trouble begins. The need for constant approval, this quiet fear of being disliked, leads to a life of people-pleasing and self-erasure. You become so focused on how others perceive you that you lose sight of your own truth. Here's the kicker. Approval is unstable. It's dependent on the mood of others, their expectations, and their comfort levels. One minute they like you, the next minute they might not. And if your self-worth is tied to their approval, you're constantly on a roller coaster, trying to please others to stay afloat. This leaves you feeling anxious, unsure, and ungrounded. You start doubting yourself, second-guessing your decisions, and shrinking in the face of conflict. You become like a chameleon, constantly changing your color to fit in with whoever is around. But the truth is, you'll never have real control over your life until you detach from the need for approval. When you stop adjusting your behavior just to be liked, you reclaim your power. You become rooted in your own beliefs, your own choices, your own values. And when you're anchored in yourself, you no longer need to perform for others. Your sense of self doesn't shift with every opinion or judgment. It becomes solid, unwavering, and strong. Let's talk about Alina. Alina was well-liked, charismatic, and easygoing. She was the one everyone turned to for advice, the one who made sure everyone else felt heard. But Alina had a secret. She avoided conflict at all costs. She softened her opinions to make others feel comfortable. She smiled when people criticized her, absorbed their judgments quietly, and never once pushed back. She thought this was what it meant to be good. One day, during a team meeting, one of her colleagues dismissed her idea without even considering it. Normally, Alina would have let it slide. She would have smiled and moved on, pretending it didn't matter. But this time, something inside her shifted. She felt the urge to shrink, to back down, to keep the peace. But instead of retreating, she paused. She looked around the room and with a calm voice she said, "I'd like to finish my point." There was a brief silence. Alina could feel the discomfort in the air, but she held her ground. Her heart was racing, but she didn't back down. And then something remarkable happened. The room shifted. People leaned in. Her colleague nodded. Alina finished her thought, and later, several of her coworkers came to her and said they respected how she handled the situation. That moment was pivotal for Alina. It wasn't about being rude, aggressive, or defensive. It was about choosing to speak her truth, to stand firm in her conviction, even if it meant discomfort. Alina realized that true strength comes not from seeking approval, but from owning her voice and her presence, regardless of how others reacted. She didn't need to perform for anyone. She could be true to herself, and that alone commanded respect. Here's the key. Detaching from approval doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. It doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It simply means you stop letting the need for approval dictate your decisions. When you no longer seek external validation, you start making choices based on what you need, not what others expect from you. The shift might feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel the urge to soften your words, to apologize for your decisions, or to make excuses for saying no. But here's the reality. These small acts of self-suppression weaken your presence. Every time you apologize for simply existing or for expressing your needs, you're withdrawing from your own power. When you stop apologizing for taking up space, for speaking your mind, and for setting boundaries, you begin to radiate strength and confidence. This doesn't mean you stop being kind, compassionate, or considerate. It simply means you stop overcompensating. You stop adjusting yourself just to fit into someone else's mold. You stop shrinking to make others feel comfortable. And when you do this, something amazing happens. People stop perceiving you as someone who is easily manipulated or controlled. They start seeing you as someone who is grounded, strong, and unwavering in their choices. Let's put this into practice. The next time you feel the urge to apologize for your presence, your preferences, or your needs, pause. Take a deep breath. Reflect on your values. Instead of apologizing, simply state your needs or desires clearly and confidently. This is what I need. This doesn't work for me. I prefer it this way. No apology needed. Another powerful exercise is to practice saying no without adding justifications. The next time someone asks for something and you don't have the bandwidth to help, simply say, "I can't do that right now." Don't explain why. Don't apologize. Just say it and leave it at that. You might feel uncomfortable at first, but this discomfort is actually a sign of growth. It means you're breaking free from the need for external validation. You're standing firm in your own truth. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the way you speak, the tone, pace, and delivery, has the power to change how people perceive you and how your presence is felt. You'll learn how controlling your tone can lead to greater respect and influence. It's time to master the art of speaking with authority, without being aggressive or domineering. If you're starting to see the power of detaching from approval, make sure you're subscribed to Blue Wave Audiobook for more life-changing strategies on how to live authentically and confidently. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. Let's keep going. Chapter 7. Control your tone, control the room. Have you ever said the right thing at the right time and yet still felt like you didn't get the response you were hoping for? Maybe you made a clear, firm statement, but the people around you seem to overlook it or worse, challenge you. Well, here's the truth. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. Your tone of voice has more power than you realize. It can either command respect or invite doubt. It can turn a firm statement into a suggestion. It can give weight to your words or make them feel hollow. When you speak with authority, people listen. But here's the kicker. Authority doesn't come from shouting, raising your voice, or trying to overpower others. Authority comes from control. Control of your voice, control of your pace, and control of your message. When your tone is steady, calm, and confident, people respond differently. They lean in. They respect what you have to say. They don't challenge you because they sense you're grounded in your own power. Let's dive deeper into the importance of tone. Have you ever noticed that when someone speaks with a raised voice or an upward pitch at the end of their sentences, it sounds like they're asking a question, not making a statement? This subtle shift in tone can make you sound unsure, even if your words are firm. On the other hand, when you speak with a steady, grounded tone, your words land with weight. They don't waver or apologize. They are simply facts delivered with calm conviction. But let's be honest, most of us struggle with tone, especially in moments of stress or confrontation. It's natural. When we feel anxious, our voices tend to rise. We speak faster, trying to get the words out before we lose our nerve. We might add filler words like just, or maybe, because we're not fully confident in what we're saying. We soften our statements, unsure of how the other person will respond. But here's the thing. When your tone fluctuates, people sense that uncertainty. They sense weakness. And when they sense weakness, they push back. They test your boundaries. They don't respect your space. Imagine this. You're in a meeting and you need to make a point. If you say, "I think we should go with this option. I don't know, maybe." Your voice is telling people that you're unsure, that you don't stand firmly behind your decision. Now, if you say, "We should go with this option," with a calm, steady tone, no hesitation, no question mark at the end of the sentence, suddenly your words carry authority. People will listen. They will take you seriously. So, how do you master your tone? It starts with awareness. Start paying attention to how you speak in different situations. Are you rushing your words when you feel uncomfortable? Are you softening your statements to avoid conflict? Are you trying to please people by changing the pitch of your voice? The first step in gaining control over your tone is noticing when you're doing it. Once you become aware, you can make conscious adjustments. Here's an exercise you can try right now. Stand in front of a mirror or sit down comfortably and say something firm. It could be a simple no or a clear statement like, "I need this done by Friday." Pay attention to your tone. Are you speaking too quickly? Is your pitch rising at the end of the sentence? Now say the same thing, but this time slow down. Lower your pitch slightly. Take a deep breath before you speak. Feel the difference in your body. You'll notice that when you speak slower and more deliberately, your tone becomes more grounded, more confident. Another powerful technique is to practice pausing after you speak. After you make a firm statement, don't rush to fill the silence. Let the words sink in. Let the room adjust to your presence. This may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's one of the most effective ways to assert authority without being aggressive. When you allow a moment of silence after speaking, it sends a message that you stand by what you said and that you're not afraid of tension. Body language plays a huge role in controlling your tone. If you're slouching, looking down, or fidgeting, your voice will naturally reflect that discomfort. But if you stand or sit up straight, with your shoulders relaxed and your chin lifted, your voice will project more naturally. You'll sound more confident, simply because your body is supporting your message. This alignment between your body and your voice creates a magnetic presence that commands respect. But there's more. Let's talk about eye contact. When you make a statement, maintain steady eye contact for at least 2 seconds after you finish speaking. It may feel like a long time, but it's not. Holding eye contact reinforces your message. It communicates that you're confident and grounded in your words. It tells others that you believe what you're saying and you're not afraid of their reaction. When you avoid eye contact, you send the opposite message. That you're unsure, that you're avoiding confrontation, that you're not standing firmly behind your words. So when you speak, hold eye contact. Let your presence be felt. Let's break down a common mistake, smiling while asserting yourself. Many people, especially those who are naturally kind and accommodating, tend to smile when they're setting boundaries. It's a reflex. They smile because they don't want to come off as rude or unkind. But here's the issue. When you smile while saying something firm, you dilute the power of your words. You're subconsciously signaling that you're not completely serious about your boundary. A slight smile is fine. It shows warmth. But when you smile excessively while saying something firm, it can make your boundary seem negotiable. Instead, try practicing a neutral expression when you're setting boundary. Your words will carry more weight and your presence will be stronger. Neutrality doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being clear, calm, and grounded in your decision. But here's a crucial truth. Your tone is only as powerful as the intention behind it. If you're speaking with anger or frustration, no amount of control over your tone will make you seem authoritative. True authority comes from calm confidence. It comes from the deep-rooted belief that you are worthy of respect, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. So when you speak, let your words come from that place of internal strength, not from external pressure or fear. In the next chapter, we'll explore the idea of replacing kindness with standards. Kindness is important, but without clear boundaries and standards, it can leave you vulnerable to being taken for granted. Learn how to create balance between generosity and self-respect, and why standards are the key to maintaining your power. If you've started to see the power of controlling your tone, make sure to subscribe to Blue Wave Audiobook for more insights on how to build a strong, authoritative presence without compromising your kindness. Your voice, your body, and your message matter. Let's keep working on making them stronger together. Keep listening. Chapter 8. Replace kindness with standards. Kindness is a virtue. It's something we're often encouraged to practice, whether in relationships, at work, or in our daily lives. We're told that being kind makes us likable, makes us good people, and often it's seen as the key to building strong connections. But here's the truth that many people overlook. Kindness without structure will drain you. It's like a beautiful tree with no roots. It might look good on the surface, but it can't withstand the storms. The real secret to lasting respect and genuine relationships is not just kindness, but standards. Standards are what keep you grounded. They're the invisible lines you draw around your time, your energy, and your values. And here's where the shift happens. When you base your actions on standards instead of simply trying to be kind to everyone, you'll stop being taken for granted. People will no longer walk all over you. Instead, they will begin to recognize that you are someone with clear values, someone who can be relied upon, not just for your generosity, but for the strength and consistency you bring. This doesn't mean that you need to become harsh, cold, or unapproachable. In fact, Kindness is still essential. But kindness without standards is what leads to burnout, frustration, and resentment. You might be kind, but if you don't set clear boundaries, if you don't define your terms for how others can treat you, your kindness becomes predictable and people begin to expect it. They might take it for granted, thinking that because you've always been there for them, you'll always be available. But here's the hard truth. People do not rise to your intentions. They rise or fall to your standards. If you constantly tolerate bad behavior or let people cross your boundaries without consequence, you're teaching them that it's okay to treat you that way. When you accept disrespect, inconsistency, or poor treatment from others, you're essentially telling them that these behaviors are acceptable. You're giving them permission to treat you less than you deserve. Imagine this scenario. You're in a relationship and you've been saying yes to everything, constantly adjusting to meet the other person's needs. You might think that being constantly available, accommodating, and flexible is a sign of love or care. But after a while, the relationship feels one-sided. You start to feel drained, unnoticed, and worse, unappreciated. The reason? You've been operating from kindness without standards. You've been giving and giving, but without any structure around how you want to be treated. Now, what if instead you approached the situation with clear standards? You said, "I need mutual respect in this relationship." You communicated early on, "I value my time and my space, and I need that to be respected." You stopped tolerating bad habits or behaviors that didn't align with your values. When you do this, something amazing happens. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop erasing yourself in the name of kindness. And in turn, people begin to respect you, not just for what you give, but for what you demand in return. This is why kindness without standards is dangerous. It allows others to define how they treat you. Standards, on the other hand, allow you to define how others treat you. The key difference is in how you view your worth. When you base your worth on being kind, you're relying on external approval. But when you base your worth on your standards, you're internally aligned with your values. You no longer need to adjust to meet the demands of others. Instead, you set the tone for how you want to be treated, and the right people will respect that. It's time to stop asking, "How can I be more kind?" and start asking, "What do I accept?" When you begin to define your limits, when you draw the line on what is and isn't acceptable, people will begin to see you in a new light. They will understand that your kindness is a gift, not an obligation. Your generosity will feel intentional, not automatic. And when people see that, they will treat it with the weight it deserves. Let's break this down into something practical. Here are a few examples of what setting standards might look like. Respecting your time. If you value your time, you'll start saying no to unnecessary meetings or late-night work requests. Instead of just saying yes to avoid inconvenience, you'll say, "I'm unavailable after 7 p.m. or "I need at least 24 hours notice for any changes." This is not about being rigid. It's about protecting your time so that you have space for what really matters. Respecting your boundaries. If you don't tolerate people interrupting you, you'll say, "Let me finish speaking," when someone cuts you off. If you don't tolerate lateness, you'll say, "I expect us to start on time." It's about making your preferences known and ensuring they are respected. Respecting your energy. If you value your energy, you won't be afraid to say, "I can't take that on right now," or "I'm not available to help with that." Instead of overextending yourself and feeling drained, You'll communicate your limits and let others know that your time and energy are not infinite. Setting these standards might feel uncomfortable at first. People might push back. They might be surprised. But here's the thing. Resistance is not a sign of failure. It's information. It's showing you who respects you and who values convenience over true connection. The people who truly respect you will adjust. The ones who don't, they'll either fall away or learn to respect your boundaries. Think of your standards as guidelines for participation. You don't have to announce them to everyone. You don't have to make a big speech. But when someone violates them, you respond clearly and calmly, without anger or drama. For example, if someone speaks to you disrespectfully, you simply say, "I don't accept being spoken to like that." If someone keeps asking for favors without considering your needs, you say, "I can't take on any more requests right now." Standards are not about being rigid or controlling. They're about alignment. When your actions match your words, when you consistently uphold your standards, people will adjust automatically. They'll start to understand that your time, your energy, and your values are not negotiable. They won't test you because they'll know what to expect from you. Let's talk about self-application for a moment. If you expect honesty from others, you need to be honest. If you expect punctuality, you need to be punctual. If you expect respect, you need to show respect. Standards lose their power when they're not applied consistently. Your behavior teaches others how to treat you. When you consistently live by your standards, you create a stable environment where people know exactly what to expect. This stability is what builds trust and respect. In the last chapter, we'll discuss how to solidify your principles so deeply that they become the foundation of your power. You'll learn how to confidently navigate any situation, armed with unwavering self-respect and clarity. We'll wrap up this journey by showing you how to build the kind of life where your boundaries are respected naturally, without you having to justify them. If this chapter is hitting home for you, don't forget to subscribe to Blue Wave Audiobook. Let's continue building your power, presence, and confidence. You deserve to live a life where your kindness is respected, and it starts with defining your standards. Keep listening. Chapter 9. The Power of Alignment. By now, you've learned how kindness, without boundaries, can undermine your power. You've seen how crucial it is to set clear standards, and how your words and actions need to match to command respect. But there's one final and perhaps most important piece to this puzzle: alignment. Alignment is the invisible force that holds everything together. It's the inner coherence between what you think, what you feel, and what you say. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are all in harmony, your presence becomes magnetic. People will respect you not because you demand it, but because your entire being reflects self-respect. When you're aligned, there's no discrepancy between who you are on the inside and what you show the world on the outside. That kind of consistency is powerful. It's the kind of consistency that makes people pause before crossing your boundaries. It makes them think twice before asking you for something, because they sense that you are grounded, that you are unwavering. Alignment is not a one-time thing. It's a constant process of checking in with yourself and asking, am I standing in my truth right now? Am I honoring my values in this moment? It's the quiet but constant internal check that keeps you on track. When your life is aligned with your core values, your presence becomes a force that others cannot easily ignore. This chapter is about learning to live from that place of deep alignment, where every decision, Every boundary and every action comes from a place of inner clarity. When you live in alignment, everything becomes easier. Saying no feels natural, not forced. Setting boundaries feels empowering, not like a sacrifice. Your tone becomes steady and your presence becomes commanding. The first step in creating alignment is self-awareness. Are you aware of your values? Do you know what is truly important to you? You can't live from a place of alignment unless you know where you stand. For example, if you value your time above all else, then you need to make sure you protect it. If you value honesty, then you need to speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. When you know your values, it becomes easier to navigate life's challenges because you have a clear filter through which to make decisions. Here's the thing. Alignment doesn't happen automatically. It's not a passive process. It requires effort. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you ignore your boundaries to please someone else, you are creating misalignment. That's where the inner conflict begins. You feel uneasy. You feel drained. Your actions and your values are no longer in harmony. This is why it's so important to be mindful of every choice you make. When you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values, it pulls you away from your true self. And that's where burnout, resentment, and confusion come from. Living in alignment also means being clear about your boundaries and being willing to enforce them consistently. When your boundaries are aligned with your values, you become stronger. People will stop testing you because they know you won't tolerate being treated any less than you deserve. But here's the kicker. It doesn't matter if others test your boundaries. What matters is that you're clear with yourself about what you'll accept and what you won't. When you align your actions with your values, people will naturally begin to respect you because your confidence will be evident in every interaction. Let's take another example. Think about the last time you were asked to do something you didn't want to do. Did you say yes because you didn't want to disappoint someone? Did you go along with it because it seemed easier than saying no? Now, what if you had aligned that decision with your values? If your time is valuable to you, then saying no would have been the aligned choice. When you say no from a place of alignment, it's not just about turning down a request. It's about protecting what's important to you. It's about reinforcing your self-worth. Alignment also helps you detach from the need for approval. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you stop needing external validation. You stop seeking approval from others to feel worthy. Your worth is no longer contingent on how others perceive you, because you're in alignment with your true self. You're not seeking to please others for the sake of being liked. You're seeking to be true to yourself. And when you live authentically, people can sense it. They see that you don't need their approval, and that makes them respect you even more. Living in alignment also means understanding that you don't have to explain yourself all the time. When you're aligned, your decisions come from a place of clarity. You don't need to justify your boundaries or your choices. If someone questions you, you don't need to provide a long explanation. A simple, firm statement of your boundary or decision is enough. The more aligned you are with your values, the less you'll feel the need to explain yourself to others. You will simply stand in your truth, and that truth will be enough. Now you might be wondering, what if people don't like my boundaries? What if they push back? Here's the truth. When you are aligned, you don't worry about others' reactions. You can't control how people respond to your boundaries or your decisions, but you can control how you show up. If someone is uncomfortable with your boundaries, that's their issue, not yours. Your job is not to make everyone comfortable. It's to be true to yourself. And when you do that, in the end, alignment is about making sure that your internal world matches your external world. It's about living with integrity, with strength, and with a deep sense of self-respect. It's about standing tall in your truth, no matter what. And when you do this, you'll notice a shift in how others respond to you. You'll stop feeling drained by the demands of others. You'll stop feeling taken for granted. Instead, you'll feel grounded, empowered, and respected. Because when your actions align with your values, you become unshakable. Stay tuned for the final thoughts. In the next and final section, we'll discuss how to embrace your power and step into the kind of presence that commands respect. You'll learn how to take everything you've learned in this audiobook and use it to create lasting change in your life. This is the final step to becoming the most confident, authentic, and respected version of yourself. If this chapter spoke to you, be sure to subscribe to Blue Wave Audiobook. As you continue to align yourself with your values, you'll start noticing a shift in how others perceive and treat you. Let's keep the momentum going. Your journey towards strength and self-respect is just beginning. Chapter 10. Embrace your power. Now that we've journeyed through understanding the importance of boundaries, kindness with structure, and the vital practice of self-alignment, it's time to embrace your power. You've learned to define your limits, to stand firm, to stop over-explaining, and to detach from the need for approval. But there's one more transformative step left: fully embracing the power that comes from all of these practices. For many, the idea of embracing power can feel uncomfortable. It might feel like arrogance or selfishness, but that's because we've been conditioned to see power as something negative. Power, however, is not about domination or control over others. It's about control over yourself, about living in alignment with your values, expressing your needs, and standing firm in who you are without hesitation or guilt. True power comes from within. It comes from being so rooted in who you are that the external world cannot easily shake you. It's the quiet confidence that emanates from someone who knows exactly what they stand for and doesn't apologize for it. When you embrace your power, you stop questioning yourself and your decisions. You stop second-guessing your worth and start embodying it. Embracing your power means you stop waiting for permission. It means you stop shrinking or minimizing yourself to make others comfortable. You start taking up space in the world. You speak your truth. You set your boundaries. You make decisions based on what aligns with your values, not based on the fear of disappointing someone or losing their approval. The moment you embrace this power, the world starts to respond differently. People begin to treat you with more respect because they see that you won't tolerate anything less. They recognize your strength, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. But let's be real. The road to embracing your power isn't always easy. There will be moments when you feel uncomfortable, when standing up for yourself feels like a challenge. There will be moments when you feel the pull to people please, to apologize, or to justify your choices. But here's the key. Power is built through discomfort. Every time you say no when you mean it, every time you set a boundary and hold it, every time you stand firm in your truth, you grow stronger. One powerful way to start embracing your power is to practice small moments of discomfort. These are the moments when you stand in your truth, even when it feels hard. Maybe it's saying no to a request, even though you fear disappointing someone. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation where you express your needs without apologizing. Or perhaps it's stepping into a situation where you might normally shrink or hold back, but instead, you speak your truth with confidence and clarity. These small, everyday acts of power are what will ultimately change your life. They'll make you more confident, more assertive, and more aligned with who you truly are. And over time, you'll notice a shift. People will start to respond to you differently. They'll start to respect you more, not because you've demanded it, but because you've demonstrated it through your actions. Let me tell you about Anna. Anna had always been a people pleaser. She said yes to every favor, accommodated everyone else's needs, and constantly put herself last. She thought that if she was kind enough, if she sacrificed enough, people would respect her. But instead, she felt taken for granted. She felt drained. Anna realized that she had been giving away her power for years, and it was time to make a change. The first time Anna said no without explaining herself, her heart raced. She felt guilty, but she stood her ground. The second time was easier, and by the third time, she noticed a shift, not just in the way people responded to her, but in the way she felt about herself. She started to realize that her worth didn't depend on how much she gave. It depended on how much she valued herself. And the moment she embraced this, everything began to change. Her relationships became healthier, her career progressed, and most importantly, she felt empowered. She stopped living for the approval of others and started living for herself. Now, Anna wasn't perfect. There were moments of doubt, moments when she was tempted to revert back to her old ways. But the more she practiced embracing her power, the stronger and more confident she became. She learned that true power comes from living authentically, from showing up in the world as your true, unshaken self. To embrace your power, you must also accept that some people won't like it. And that's okay. Not everyone is going to respect your boundaries or appreciate your newfound strength. Some people might feel uncomfortable with your transformation. They might try to make you feel guilty for standing firm. But that's not your problem. You are not here to please everyone. You are here to honor yourself, to protect your energy, and to build a life that reflects your values. In the end, embracing your power means stepping into your authentic self, unapologetically. It means saying no when necessary, holding your boundaries, and never shrinking to make others comfortable. It means trusting yourself, trusting your instincts, and trusting that you have the strength to navigate whatever life throws your way. The more you embrace this power, the more you'll see that the world will respond to you differently. People will take you seriously. They'll respect you more. But most importantly, you'll start to respect yourself more. And remember, true power isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up for yourself, day in and day out, even when it feels hard. The more you practice this, the stronger you'll become. Now that you've learned how to embrace your power, it's time to put everything into practice. Start living your life with unshakable confidence. Start setting boundaries, standing in your truth, and showing up for yourself in ways that you've never done before. Because when you do, you'll discover that the world begins to respond to you in ways you never imagined. You're not just being kind, you're being strong, you're being grounded, you're being powerful. If you found this audiobook life-changing, don't forget to subscribe to Blue Wave Audiobook for more empowering content. Remember, your power is always within you. You just have to claim it. Stay steady, stay clear, and never shrink again. Keep listening,